It's Ken. Welcome to Flow Tricks, and today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to go through some of the questions that people have asked, and I will respond to them because I've got some backup from YouTube, from Patreon, and from the new Flow Tricks Pro group. I just figured I'd pull it all together. Before we begin, though, I do want to talk really quick about Flow Tricks Pro because it's something I just brought up, and it's group personal training. Because I can't physically go and train everyone myself, I'm creating a private Facebook group where I will respond to any of your questions within 24 hours, and I will give you my personal as well as professional advice on just about anything you need. For example, if you want to figure out how to get a gig, or if you need help, what do I learn next? Or we don't have a belt system and it's really hard sometimes to find the right instructor, so maybe you just want to show me a video and ask me what to learn next or what you could do to improve. I will give you honest critiques. I've been doing this for a very long time. So Flow Tricks Pro is a brand new thing. I'll answer all questions unless I'm dying or out of town within 24 hours. I'm going to start by going to Flow Tricks Pro because we have just a couple members right now, and that's okay. That's how everything starts. And Michael Martinez asks, hey Ken, how do I make my under the leg throws cleaner? So I thought we would start with that one. Now I'm going to go ahead and move over to the cam. Oh, I hope this works. All right, hold on. I'm going to scoot out my microphone. So this is just going to be a very straight recording. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to do any edits. I'm going to run this like it's a live stream and just see how everything works out. So Michael Martinez had asked, how do I make my under the leg throws cleaner? To be honest, without actually seeing your video, Michael, it's going to be a little bit harder than because I don't quite know exactly where you're struggling with your under the leg throws. But if I were to say something, it's usually either the catch, or it's going to be getting a smooth transition to get under your leg. So a lot of times when I think of an under the leg throw, I think about the last second before I release the throw, what is my hand doing? And that's going to give you a clean throw. So if you think about like how your nunchucks spin in a circle, right? You also have to think about how your arm moves in a circle to get it under the leg. And at the last second, what is it doing? If it just sits still, then the nunchuck's going to fly the same direction that it's going. So if you want a clean throw, one thing you can do is first try to do a throw without going under your leg. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand and we're going to move it almost in a half circle. But then we're going to give it a little bit of an arc up and a pull back. As soon as we pull it back, we're going to open our hands. So here, kind of see how my arm is kind of extending in a large circle. And then the moment we get to about, 9 o'clock, we're going to pull back just for a second and we're going to lift our hand up. We're also going to twist our hand I'm in the darkness. I'm still getting used to this studio. Ever so slightly, give it a little bit of a twist with the wrist. So here, twist, and see if you can just get it to land right back to where your hand is. So that's a little bit of an aiming thing. It's almost like if you were to throw a ball to your other hand and you say, well, how do you throw a ball to the other hand? You do have to practice it before it just becomes innate. But that's kind of the breakdown, the technical breakdown is you're going to move in a larger half circle, give it a little flick and a pull back at the same time. All of it's very subtle. How much do you need to do is you're going to have to feel it out a little bit because this is going to be something you're going to have to train. So it's all very subtle, it's all very small, but it's just enough to keep the chuck to want to not go that direction. So if you let go too early, if the chuck is flying this direction while you're doing the pullback, all that means is you're letting go before you're pulling back. So you're too early. Make sure that you wait, hold it out just a second, and then let it go. And it will fly the direction that you need it to be. Now once you do that, it's as simple as getting your leg under. It's going to be the same thing, except for you might have to give a little bit more of a pullback, and you're bent over a little bit more forward as it comes under the leg. So as you come under the leg, you're going to be a little bit more bent over forward. So there's going to be very slight differences between learning this motion and learning this motion, but they're very similar at the same time. You're going to give a little bit more of a pullback on this one, under the leg, pull back, catch. Under the leg, pull back, catch. Now, if it's flying in the air and you're wondering, what did you ask? How do I make it cleaner? You may also be talking about a clean throw. So a little trick that I can tell you is the higher up you grab on the nunchuck, that's usually the faster the chuck will spin. And the lower you grab on the nunchuck, the slower usually the spin is. So see if you can actually do a middle grip and see if that helps you be able to catch the chuck. As it's flying in the air, there's several ways to catch a chuck. For now, I'm just going to say the way that I usually do this type of throw, where it's moving clockwise, is that I usually try to grab when it's on the right side, so whatever chuck is on the right side of me, so if it's this one, I usually slam down and grab and pull it in that same direction. So it comes up, my hand slams down, my hand is actually moving faster than the chuck, snatches it out of the air, like so, so it's moving up, snatches it out, and as soon as I snatch it out, I give it a little bit of a twist. And what that twist does is it just pulls it, it keeps the motion going. So up, grab, grab. So now we go, whoop, grab. So if you notice, as I grab, I don't just stop, I actually pull it down just a hair, just a hair to pull it. I pull it downward and then I snap it out, and that'll cause the chuck, the other chuck that's flying, to kind of whip itself into the motion of the catch. So I hope that helps. I'm gonna go back here. Boom! I really hope all this is working. Yeah, that was the only question I got so far on Flotrix Pro. But just keep in mind, again, like, I really want to push this because I think it's exciting and awesome, because I'm kind of like your personal trainer, well, personal group instructor, and there's going to be a lot of private videos and type responses in there that I think will be really good for anyone that's serious about it. So now I'm going to go, let's go back to the web. Now let's go somewhere else. Oh, man, I totally thought I had my YouTube up already. So I'm going to bring this up. I hope everyone's doing well. The weather is so fantastic. Life's been really good over here. I've got 4 shows coming up, doing a lot of ninja stuff. It's pretty crazy. You know, it's always the balance between being an instructor and being a performer for me. And sometimes I'm like working on Flotrix all the time. Come on, load. And sometimes I'm working on performing and instructing. It just goes back and forth. Okay, let's go to comments and see what else we can see here. Alrighty, here we go. Samir says, Ken, you are the best video maker. Thank you. Nunchuck video maker. Actually, I'm the best video maker. No, I'm kidding. That's great. That's great. I'm just gonna go to questions actually, because there's a lot of comments here. All right. So Matt Cole says, Ken, do you have a video with usable chucks? I see a lot of party chuck videos, but feel real martial artists are not being represented enough on the channel. You've practiced for years. How about moving up to serious chucks? Big fan. Been subscribed for a while. So a lot of times, I have metal chucks. I have oak chucks, octagons, pro chucks, fire chucks. I have all kinds of chucks. But the reason why I generally have a specific style is for a couple of reasons. And I think a big one is liability, because when I'm on the internet, I want to make sure, even if kids watch it, that they ain't going to be picking up something crazy or doing anything too crazy. And the other is honestly just like the Dark Monk chucks, for instance, their weight just works great for me. I actually love training with those things. It's not to say, I mean, every single nunchuck has its own personality, right? So like, for instance, with steel, you feel like this punishing motion that happens. It's usually not tapered, so there's not like a lot of weight that pulls itself to the end. So it makes certain moves work better. So for my style, I personally like weighted chucks. So like when I do fire nunchucks, for instance, it's one of my favorite kinds of chucks. Not because it's on fire, but because the way the weight is distributed. Yeah, you know, so when I talk about liability though, a lot of it's just because like I don't really teach a lot of martial arts online, and I think that's because I really feel like you should be at a dojo. Like, people that want to learn martial arts should not like get their friends together, watch YouTube videos and try out wrist locks or anything like that. I mean, you know, that's just one example. I feel very strongly that like you should go to a dojo and get some professional instruction. It's kind of tough. I mean, I do a little bit of martial arts on here, and maybe I'll change my mind someday, but that's just how I feel. I just want to teach the fun flair stuff. Plus, it's kind of how I make my living now. So, all right, I'm gonna go to the next question. Let's go back to the web. I'm sorry. Okay, I am gonna put this in Google Translate. Google Translate. All right, so I got a question, but it wasn't in my language. Very good. What material is the nunchucks? Oh, okay. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I get them from Dark Monk. Like these chucks here, I get these from Dark Monks. And it feels like silicone or rubber here. There's some sort of very thin padding here. And then here's like some super grip. On the inside, I can see that it looks like there's a metal of some kind inside of it, but there's a nice grip on the outside. I hope that helps. I'm not being very specific, but you would have to talk to Dark Monk on that one. Okay, next question. I'm gonna just look for question marks. Okay, so I guess this is kind of like a live stream more than anything, because I'm not really gonna have a lot of edits here. Ken, do you do personal training videos going more in depth, step by step, by learning the flow tricks for nunchucks? If so, how much would you charge? I've been watching and I've got a few rolls, but I'm stuck on things that I can do. I think it's mostly because I have oak chucks instead of strings. Am I able to do the same tricks with chain instead of string? Okay, this is a lot of good questions. First, do I do personal training videos? I used to. With the time that I have, that's why I started the Flowtricks Pro thing, because I wanted to do group training videos instead of specific users, just because of the time aspect of it. So yeah, I mean, if you're interested in something like that, like getting help, just join Flowtricks Pro and totally got your back. Totally got your back. And plus, like, all the responses go to the whole group, so other people like can learn from it too. And then you're asking about, I think it's partially because I have oak chucks instead of string and you get stuck. The answer is probably not, actually. So using oak, the thing is I've used a lot of different kinds of chucks, right? And one thing I've come to learn is they just have different personalities. So if you use certain kinds of chucks, certain kinds of techniques are easier, but usually they're not impossible. For instance, to do a wheel with string chucks is usually a lot easier than to do it with chain overall, just because you don't have something grinding. You can kind of catch, there's more of a lip that you can get your finger into. When I first started, I learned it on chain, so you can get away with it. It's just there's some processes that are going to be slower and some that are going to be faster. When you have weighted chucks, for instance, your stalls are going to look good. Here, let me actually come out here for a second here. Man, I feel like I should have just grabbed my chucks, but I would have to scavenge and look for it. But when you do things like stalls, you're going to want weighted chucks. When you start doing wrist rolls, the heavier your chucks are, the harder it is for the motion to start. But as long as you're not interrupting it, it'll actually be easier than if you had light chucks. So like if you had super flimsy light foam chucks per se, it's gonna be the exact opposite. So with light chucks, you can like do a lot of hypers and a lot of bounces because there's not a lot of force. You're able to redirect it really fast, which allows you to move extremely fast. But at the same time, things like rolls or like infinite rolls or anything like that is going to be a little bit more complicated than if you had weighted chucks, because the weight will continually want to move around you and you have to do a lot less work. When you have smaller or lightweight chucks, you have to keep propelling it, you have to keep feeding it force because the weight doesn't pull itself over. So I hope that answers your question. Let's keep going. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Let's see here. The hurricane spin. This is a hurricane spin. Yeah, it's just words. Words. 3-beat weave. Some people call it a hurricane spin. People call it all kinds of things. Some people call it a butterfly. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I need to learn how to spin the nunchucks. I can only get a single spin. Okay, so let me give you a piece of advice if you can't nail a move, because I get this question a lot. If you can't nail a move and you don't have like a person to help you instruct it, first thing to do is play the video, put it on, check your speed because you can adjust the YouTube speed, put it on like 25% and look at it very, very carefully. The second thing is go extremely slow. Go as slow as you possibly can and see if you can kind of match the same motions. You can always speed it up later. Now, there's another option, which is sometimes if you go too slow, you can't do it either. So the next thing to do is once you've done it slow, if you can't figure out from going slow, do the opposite, go fast. But try to implement what you learned from going slow first. And this process will help you kind of find, you're basically looking at a problem and you're attacking it from different angles, collecting what works, and then keep going at the angles until you burst through. And that's what you do. And sometimes you also have to just give it a break. So if that doesn't work, give it a break, rest on it, but keep doing it. The thing I think that a lot of people do is if they can't get it in the first day or the first couple days, they stop. But there's been some moves that I've trained that took me a month before I was able to figure it out, you know? And that's what you need. You need persistence and patience, diligence, discipline, all of that. All right, let's go back here. Let's see if there's any more questions I can answer. Poop Ninja. Okay, great. All right, a couple more here. Excellent video. Okay, just looking for questions right now. All right. Come on, I know I can find some. Well, okay. That's just me kind of fiddling around. Why don't I just go out here for a minute and we'll just work on a couple more things here. So a lot of times when I'm teaching lessons, right, there's a lot of focus on technique. And you're going to notice that especially when people are doing nunchucks, they focus a lot on the next big move that they can learn, because essentially what happens is chucks becomes a bunch of movements, right? And if you're able to pull those movements together, then all of a sudden you think you have a combo. But what really makes it come alive is kind of like what Bruce Lee said. So I hope you take this and you really consider this, okay? And he said something like, I fear not the man that practiced 10,000 different kicks, but the man that practiced one kick 10,000 times. And that is absolutely true. Sometimes what I want you to do is take one move. Just take one move. Right now, take one move. Maybe it's a new move. And I want you to practice it more than you've ever practiced any trick before. And when you feel like you really got it, keep going, and I want you to focus your awareness as to what's happening, because what you're doing is you're building sensitivity. And the deeper you go with that sensitivity, the more you're going to start noticing some very subtle nuances. So sometimes if you can take one trick and you can get a really deep understanding of one trick, you'll start to see and feel things that you would not have felt or seen otherwise, and that can be applied to other tricks. So sometimes instead of learning a whole bunch of tricks, right, and being like mediocre or okay at it, if you learn one trick and you go follow it through all the way, you'll realize it will help all those other tricks that you're learning. So keep that in mind. Ha! Okay, Sensei is done. I'm done for today. Like I said though, hope you guys are spending and having an awesome time. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to message me. And if you're interested in joining Flotrix Pro, it's awesome. I think it's fantastic. I would love to have a little group of personal trained ninjas. But if not, that's totally cool too. I'm gonna keep making videos regardless. So I hope you all are doing well. We've been doing this over 10 years now. It's pretty insane. And I think we're just gonna keep going and expanding and getting bigger and better. So take care everyone, and talk to y'all soon. Now, how do I shut this off?